Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen.
Hello and welcome to the Gegenpressing bonus show. I'm Stefan. I'm hosting today for no real rhyme or reason, just to shake things up. Manu, you are my guest. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Feels odd not to be the first speaking, but yeah, I'm doing good. Back from LA, up the coast, back to Vancouver Island. Had an enjoyable few days down there. Witnessed American football history, or soccer history, I guess I have to say, Stefan. 82,110 at the Rose Bowl on American Independence Day. I know it's just MLS, but still, it was incredible. The spectacle was amazing, and it really shows that the game here is growing. So, yeah, that was fun to be part of. It's fun to be part of soccer history whenever you can be.
Yeah, looked pretty awesome. Sounded pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Sure plenty of our listeners will be delighted. I know you also wrote something about it, but yeah, it's great. It's great to have, more football to go to, even though the season's finished. I personally, you'd have to kind of drag me kicking and screaming, I think, to a football match at this point in the season. At this point of summer. I'm just about finished with what felt like the longest season of my life. But no, I'm glad to hear it's going well. I'm glad to hear people are showing up. They're loving it. And it's thriving out there.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And I know that I know we have a lot of listeners that kind of interested in both, right? MLS and the Bundesliga, and we have a lot of listeners from the United States, so it's always kind of fun to combine the both. And I think I'm back in California pretty soon, Stefan, for the Dortmund games. They're playing in San Diego, right, and then in Vegas, and so I'll be back on the road pretty soon. How I feel you? It's been a lot of soccer already this year, or football, I guess, or football, or whatever. Anyways, yeah, it's
we're
good
not
times.
here to talk about we're not here to talk about El Tráfico. So,
No.
what we are going
the traffic. It took me 2 hours to get out of the stadium.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever I see films or TV shows and stuff about LA, I don't know. I struggle to see the appeal, to be honest with you. I mean, I've never been, so I can't really say anything about it, but it seems like all people ever do is complain about the traffic or the weather or the smog or whatever else, but I'm sure I'll have to visit one day to experience myself and make up my own mind on it.
It's much better than its reputation, I would say.
Yeah. But we're here to talk about German football and to segue to what many call the LA of Germany, Leverkusen.
Oh, God. That's a terrible comparison.
No, not really. No, I don't think anyone's ever compared Leverkusen to LA. But yeah,
people
we
have
wanted
made the
to
comparison to California and the Rhineland, and I think that's a terrible comparison too, because California is a beautiful state, and the Rhineland is the Rhineland.
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow that one either, to be honest. But yeah, we kind of wanted to. We kind of sat down today and kind of talked about what we should talk about on the show, and we realised we've done a lot of Bayern, we've done a lot of Dortmund, we've done a lot of Leipzig, and we figured, like, let's try and talk about the other clubs. But then when we started digging through the numbers, we're probably going to end up spending this whole show at home at Leverkusen. So why don't we just do a whole show on Leverkusen, how their summer transfer window's going to date, and how they're kind of shaping up for next season. And Manu, let's just maybe go through the top signings they've made so far this summer, and we can maybe just spend like 5 minutes on each one, or more than others, because I know there's Arthur, the right back. We can't really say too much about him, young player from Brazil. Kind of have to wait and see how he does, but let's start with a big one, which was announced a couple hours before we started recording. Granit Xhaka, 25 million euros move to Arsenal. Where do you stand on this? What do you think of this move?
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic signing, to be honest with you. I know Granit Xhaka had his controversies at Arsenal, right? Was a captain for a while, and I know that was something that maybe was a bit too much for him. I think it was under Mikel Arteta's first season, right, that he lost his captaincy or gave it up, depending which way you want to look at it. But when you just look at his last year, in what was, nothing short of a spectacular season for Arsenal, probably the closest threat to Man City's yearly parade to the title in some time, right? Maybe since the great Liverpool sides in the club. And he was outstanding for that team. I just finished writing up the feature for Transfermarkt before we went on the show. And I knew he had a good year, Stefan, but then I went through his stats, right? And I was like, wow, he was third in assists among all central midfielders, fourth in scoring among all central midfielders. He was in the top 20 categories, in a lot of defensive categories. So with ground duels, successful tackles. Then he also stood out in a lot of the passing categories as well. And that kind of surprised me, because while I knew that he had a good season, I didn't realize he was among the very best of the Premier League midfielders, right? And he's only 30, right? We're not talking about a player who was 31, 32, 33 and going back to the Bundesliga to see out his final years. 30 isn't that old for a player of that category. So Leverkusen are kind of getting a player in their prime, and is in his prime, who's just come off a very strong season in arguably the best league in Europe, right? So I was kind of taken aback that they managed to get this done. And I think, and I'm curious what you think about this, but this transfer does not happen if Xabi Alonso isn't the head coach at Leverkusen.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.